So, my name is Cameron Smith. I work in the Center for Career Development here at the College of the Holy Cross, primarily with our students thinking about careers in science, technology, engineering, or the health and life sciences. And proud, excited to be joined by a Holy Cross alum who's made that transition from major here at Holy Cross into the real world. So, without any further ado, I proudly introduce you to Fiona. And Fiona, would you mind just telling us a little bit about sort of your time here on the Hill at the College of Holy Cross, what you majored in, what you were involved with when you graduated? And maybe what you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Fiona. I graduated from Holy Cross this past May, so 2024. I was a physics major and a business ethics minor. I was pretty active on campus. I was involved with her campus. I was on the ski team. I was a tour guide and pretty active in admissions. And then I worked as a physics tutor as well. During my time at Holy Cross, I also did research in a physics lab for 2 years. So I did it summer after my freshman year and my sophomore year. Really enjoyed doing research, learned a ton, especially with COVID kind of messing up the lab aspect of the science classes. It was great to get that additional experience in the lab. Um, yeah, right now I'm working at Hayden Consulting Group in Boston, which is a life science consulting firm. We mainly work for drug manufacturers in market access and commercialization. So helping to make drugs more affordable, more accessible. And then if it's a new drug that's launching, kind of figure out how those access dynamics play into that drug entering the space. I had no idea that I wanted to go into consulting. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't even know that I wanted to be a physics major. But yeah, throughout my process at Holy Cross and just learning more about what was out there, my love of the sciences, connecting with other alum. I was able to find that I wanted something in sciences, but maybe more of the business side of it. In my summer after junior year, I interned at a small venture capital company investing in tech and AI startups in life sciences and healthcare. Also found that through Handshake, and was a Holy Cross alum and love that. And that's kind of where I found, okay, life sciences, business, that's what I want. And then Hayden Consulting Group, also on Handshake, connected with a Holy Cross alum, and then further connected with them at the career fair in the fall of my senior year.
That's great. Thank you. We will certainly talk more about the importance of networking, connecting with Holy Cross alum, and using that. And again, appreciate your time as an alum giving back and
Yeah,
part of this conversation. Could you
happy
maybe,
to do it.
thank you, talk a little bit about sort of your day to day as an associate consultant at Hayden and really kind of like what that looks like, meetings, involvements, kind of in the office, hybrid, remote, and how that's all playing out for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So normally you're staffed on two projects. So I'm staffed on two right now, and they're new drugs that are launching. One of the projects I'm on the analytics work stream. So we're coding and running data, mostly claims level data, to kind of look at different trends, different cost sharings, different coverage, um, aspects, things like that. So I'm mostly doing a lot of that data coding on my own. Then I'll connect with the team I'm working with. We'll probably have two or three internal meetings a week and then two client meetings a week as well for that project. And then I'm on another project which we're creating a forecasting model for a drug that's launching to figure out how their launch is going to look in the space that they're entering. So I'm doing research on other drugs that are comparable on a variety of attributes just to kind of gain knowledge and insight on the space that that drug is launching in. Probably the same dynamics with team internal meetings and then external meetings as well. Hayden Consulting is remote on Mondays and Fridays, which is super nice to kind of have the back bookend of both weekends. Um, yeah, and then I'm in person Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Don't do a ton of travel, which is kind of nice because some consulting firms could have a lot of travel.
That's great. I know you mentioned that consulting was not necessarily where you saw yourself when you started at Holy Cross. How did that career path kind of evolve over time, the internship and maybe doing some things outside of the traditional physics world? What did that really look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it actually kind of started when I was abroad the fall of my junior year. I had just finished in my second summer in the lab and knew I didn't really want to go back for a third summer. and went abroad and kind of thought, oh my gosh, like what am I even going to do with a physics major if I don't want to do research? And kind of had a big crisis and decided that I was going to pick up the business ethics minor. So I picked the business ethics minor up and the business fundamental certificate. So I picked those up pretty late in my
Yeah,
journey at Holy Cross, being that it was junior year. Was able to squeeze it all in. Um, and then, yeah, just kind of got to thinking like, okay, if research isn't for me, what else is out there that will scratch that itch of loving the sciences and wanting the sciences, but be social and interactive, which I wasn't really getting from research. Um, yeah. And then I found Innispark Ventures was the name of the venture capital company that I interned at junior year. Found that on Handshake, did some research, and yeah, really dove right in and realized that science a science degree doesn't necessarily have to be okay, you're going to research or you're going the clinical route to like go to medical school, go to NP school, go to PA school, which I feel like a lot of people think that that's what they might want when they enter the sciences and realize that you don't want that. Again, speaking from experience, and there is so much out there still in the sciences that you don't even realize until you start looking.
that's great. And I love the kind of stepping into that business world a little bit later on. I think that's always a hesitation for folks of kind of, do I have time to squeeze this in? How can I go about doing that? But we have such great partners over there that can help to kind of work and find the way it can fit into your schedule. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, curious kind of those other specific resources. I know you mentioned Handshake, the Career Fest sort of job fair piece, networking with alumni, the internship pieces as well. Um, what were some of those foundational pieces? How did you go about doing them? How did you find it in reaching out to alums to ask some of these questions? What was your experience like, again, as a physics major, kind of trying to navigate a little bit more of this business world?
Yeah, I signed up for, I think, all the email chains within the Center for Career Development. So got the science, got the business, got the finance ones. Um, and I mean, they send out a ton of emails, even with just alum that are coming to campus and setting up office hours or the name of an alum. So I found those to be very helpful. And then I felt like I was always perusing on Handshake, especially in my junior year, just kind of seeing what was posted, or even if I wasn't necessarily interested in the job position that was posted, look into the company and then see if there was an associated alum within that. Um, yeah, so I feel like all those ones you touched on were kind of the resources that I used and found all of them incredibly beneficial.
That's great. Um, you talked a little bit about the idea of sort of interacting with people, working on teams and things, maybe stepping out of the lab and really what you were looking for in that workplace piece. Are there things from the physics side of things, from the science side of things, skills that you're using sort of on a day-to-day basis in the role that really are important?
Yeah, absolutely. Being a physics major, definitely problem solving, critical thinking. I feel like those are two huge aspects of the consulting world too. Um, yeah, and even just being able to, it builds off critical thinking, but just knowing numbers, which I feel like in any STEM field, you have an idea of numbers because, I mean, whether you're solving a physics equation or whether you're like doing something in bio and chem also with numbers, and then obviously math, just yeah, having an idea of numbers I find very helpful in meetings, whether it's you're talking about gross to net, which obviously I never encountered as a physics major, but just being able to do those deductions or look at percentages and kind of have a grasp on it, I find that very helpful. And then yeah, the critical thinking and strategic aspect of consulting definitely help with physics. And then as a physics major, I had some experience with coding, which is helpful. I mean, it's a whole new language, and I went through extensive training when I started, so it's not like you have to, if you're looking at Hayden, it's not like you have to have coding background, but I did find that to be helpful too.
That's great. A lot of what you're talking about with sort of this like problem solving, data analytics, the teamwork interaction pieces, I think are really cornerstones of the liberal arts education. Curious just how you sort of marketed that, not coming from a business school, not coming maybe from what a lot of people think is the traditional background to get into consulting, um,
Mm.
but sort of finding that niche within the life sciences consulting side. How did you really market the Holy Cross education and your experiences here to parlay into this?
Yeah, that's yeah, great point. Definitely the teamwork and having a breadth of experiences, I think definitely helped in leveraging Holy Cross, yeah. I'd say that being able to take other classes and kind of having interest in other things outside of your major was also something that I was able to use and I think is very valued because if you don't want to necessarily just take classes in your niche, but you want to expand your horizons and learn more about other things, that's kind of what consult I'm always learning. You're always getting staffed to a new project, a new client that you might know nothing about. So having just that curiosity that Holy Cross enables you to have by taking different classes and learning about different things. Um, yeah, I think that was a big aspect of it as well. And I mean, not being if I wasn't at a liberal arts college, I also would not have done probably physics and business ethics, but
Yeah,
being in the consulting world, especially in life sciences and healthcare, that is a huge topic of conversation right now. Having the business ethics minor, yeah, I'm able to have a whole new lens and think about it in a whole different way.
that's incredible. Are there kind of specific classes or things that you call back to on like a daily basis that you're like, oh yeah, like that? Um, I don't even know, but like that specific class or that specific workshop is something that just keeps popping up in your day to day.
I'd say now that I'm on the data analytics project, definitely like one of my physics classes, and then I also took an intro to computer science class.
Yeah.
Um, took that like my senior year kind of as like, oh, this would be fun. Very difficult class. But I'd say that now I find myself thinking about that, and trying to just understand when I'm coding, kind of conceptually, what do I actually want to do? Like, it doesn't matter what syntax I'm writing, what do I actually want out of it? So I think the computer science and some of my physics classes, for the business ethics minor, I took a like the seminar, the final seminar. Definitely
Mhm.
think that that was just super discussion based, talking about corporate responsibility and accountability and all of that kind of stuff. So that definitely, yeah, I find myself thinking about that pretty often too.
That's great. If sort of like the you now and kind of post graduation were to go back and maybe have a conversation with the freshman version of you, are there things that you would want to sort of emphasize or recommend or wish that maybe you had done earlier during your Holy Cross career?
Take more fun classes that you want to take. I took an art class my senior year spring, and it was my favorite class at Holy Cross, and I wish that I had done it sooner. And I find now too in post grad, I started taking art classes in my free time, and I owe a lot to that, to taking that art class senior year. Um, and post grad, it's difficult to kind of like find what your passions and hobbies are because at Holy Cross, it's kind of all right there and now you're in this big city working a job without that structure. So I'd say take advantage of having everything so close. Like do the club, take the class. Yeah, and try to just harness and find your hobbies so that when you do get into post grad life, you have that work-life balance because you know what you enjoy outside of work.
That's great advice. Um, Thinking about that, and I love that yes mentality of saying yes to things and trying different stuff. How is there sort of advice around the starting the job search, looking at specifically kind of this consulting sector that you would want to give to folks that are here at Holy Cross now?
Yeah, start early, as like scary and daunting as that is, it definitely helps to start early. I'd say probably end of my junior year, I started an Excel spreadsheet and just kept a list of like companies that I maybe wanted to look at, a blurb about what they would do, and then what their entry level role was. And then if I knew when the applications were going to open and when they were going to close, I put that in there. And I found that to be very helpful in just tracking not only where I wanted to apply, but then once I did apply, where I actually applied. So yeah, start early. You don't have to know what you want to do. Yeah, that's a huge thing. I'd say also just apply, apply, apply. Also, even if you get a first round interview at a job you're maybe not really interested in, take the first round interview because it's great experience. Um, Leverage the liberal arts education and that kind of like I talked about earlier, that you have curiosity and we're able to take different things and learn different things and yeah, you problem solve, you critical think. I mean, that's what Holy Cross teaches all of us.
And then timeline for these sorts of roles. Now, having sort of been there and thinking back to sort of when you were going through all this, we were talking a little earlier of this is a much earlier process than I think a lot of the industry specific science jobs that are out there. What do you remember about kind of that timeline during your senior year when you were looking and applying for this?
Yeah, so I know that some of the bigger consulting firms, um, Hayden is not a very big consulting firm, but some of the bigger big name ones, those open like end of junior year. It might even be like May or June, with applications being July or August. Um, I'd say, I mean, I know Hayden, their applications opened, I think it was early September and closed in October. So I'd say probably between August and October, um, is like a time to be ready to apply. So kind of start looking like June, July. This is before senior year starts.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that's been sort of the timeline that we're seeing with more of the niche, smaller, not boutique necessarily, but kind of smaller consulting firms
Yeah.
looking early fall. And I think that's been a great target for a lot of our science students sort of looking to make this transition. Uh,
Mhm.
any other advice that you would give to Holy Cross students, especially kind of that STEM student that maybe is thinking about consulting as a career path? Things that maybe we missed in the other questions?
I'd say also leverage the Holy Cross Network in reaching out. I mean, I've had quite a few people just message me on LinkedIn and be like, "Hey, we'd love to learn more about Hayden or like learn about you." And I'll always say yes. So I think, yeah, even if you reach out to somebody who's at a smaller consulting firm, someone who's at a bigger consulting firm, like there's Holy Cross people everywhere. I'd say, yeah, definitely do leverage that just to learn. Even if you're not interested in the company, just ask questions.
Yeah, I think we're finding that across the board that the networking, where it used to be a nicety in the job search process, is becoming almost a requirement of really being able to move forward and move on.
Yeah.
And I would echo that Holy Cross alums tend to be some of the nicest and most responsive that are out there and getting back to folks. So it is wonderful to have you as sort of that face of like a non-intimidating Holy Cross alum willing to say yes, that will certainly answer that call when the LinkedIn message pops up.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Any final thoughts on kind of preparing for that successful transition into consulting, into life after graduation, and kind of industries beyond their major?
Yeah, I think just like the life aspect of it, it's definitely a hard transition, transitioning out of college, kind of again echoing what I said, your structure is gone. I mean, everything at Holy Cross, all your friends, all your activities, all your hobbies are right there. So be easy on yourself. Give yourself some space and time to figure that out. Don't rush into it and have a work-life balance. Plan things after work, plan things on the weekends, have things to look forward to. Um, because the weeks can get long.
That's great. Well, I will not make this interview much longer, but want to say thank you again. Truly appreciate your time. Wonderful to hear that you are doing so well. And I think this is an area that we're seeing more and more of our students kind of show interest and excitement around. So just glad to have you as sort of a trailblazer in all of this and a resource for our undergrads to be able to reach out to and talk more about.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone watching this interview can feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to chat, hear about your path.
Great. And we've got you on LinkedIn in the Holy Cross Network.
Yeah, yep.
Wonderful. Well, we will look for you there. Thank you again. We really appreciate it, Fiona. Best of luck and enjoy the rest of the spring in Boston.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Cameron. Bye, guys.